The Dirty Dozen was not just made, it was survived. The set caught fire hours before filming. A Hollywood legend sabotaged an actor's career, and one star retired from the NFL in full military gear just to stick it to his boss. These are 12 insane facts about the Dirty Dozen. And the bonus? Even the Duke said no to this one, then made a movie so bad it got 0 stars. Lock and load. This mission gets deadly fast. Number 1. The chateau that was too well built. The chateau was massive, towering 240 feet wide and 50 feet tall, a fortress built to look exactly like something you'd find in occupied France during World War II. Art director William Hutchinson and 85 crew members spent 4 months constructing it, planting 6 weeping willows, 450 shrubs, 30 spruce trees, and over 5,400 square yards of heather to make it feel real. But when production reached the climactic finale, where the whole thing was supposed to explode in a blaze of glory, they discovered a massive problem. The set was too well built, so structurally sound that demolition experts calculated they'd need 70 tons of explosives just to bring it down. That was not a movie explosion anymore, that was a war zone. So what did they do? So they had to rebuild an entire section of the chateau out of cork and plastic, piece by piece, just so they could actually blow it up on camera without killing half the crew. Sometimes doing your job too well is the biggest problem of all. Number 2. The accidental fire that nearly destroyed everything. September 21st, 1966, early morning. The crew had just wrapped night filming at 3:30 a.m. due to heavy fog rolling across the set, and everyone went home exhausted, counting on a few hours of sleep before the controlled burn later that day. Then, at 6:29 a.m., disaster struck. The chateau, the same one they'd spent months building, the same one they'd painstakingly reconstructed out of flammable materials, caught fire, not during filming, not when cameras were rolling, just randomly from an accident. A spark, a mistake. The flames tore through the set 3 hours before they were supposed to start shooting the destruction scene, and the crew scrambled while the schedule imploded and costs skyrocketed. The entire production ground to a halt while they assessed the damage and figured out how to salvage what was left. It's the kind of thing that makes a director want to quit, but Robert Aldrich did not flinch. He adapted, he pushed forward, and somehow they kept filming. Because in war, in movies, in life, sometimes the mission doesn't go according to plan. You just keep moving. Number 3. The rain that cost $1 million. If the accidental fire was not enough, nature itself seemed determined to destroy the Dirty Dozen as heavy rains pounded the production throughout the entire summer of 1966, turning the set into a muddy, miserable nightmare. Lucker filming delays stretched on for weeks, then months, with equipment rusting, scenes needing to be reshot, and schedules collapsing while every single day they weren't filming, they were bleeding money. By the time the skies finally cleared, the weather-related delays alone had added $1 million in cost overruns to the budget, bringing the final price tag to $5 million. A staggering sum in 1967 that is the equivalent of nearly $50 million today. The studio was furious, the accountants were panicking, and Aldrich just kept shooting because he knew something they did not. If they could survive the fire, the rain, and the chaos, they'd have something special. And they did. Number 4. Lee Marvin's drunken disappearance. Lee Marvin was a tough guy, a war hero, a Hollywood legend. But on this particular day, he was also drunk, very drunk. And they were setting up a scene where his character had to drive an armored truck with Charles Bronson riding shotgun. Everything was ready, cameras positioned, lighting perfect, crew waiting. But there was just one problem. Lee Marvin had vanished. Crew members fanned out across London searching for him and finally tracked him down to a pub in Belgravia. Slumped over a table several drinks deep, so they hauled him into a car, forced coffee down his throat, and rushed him back to set desperately trying to sober him up before Aldrich lost his mind. When they arrived, Marvin stumbled out of the car and fell flat on his face in front of the entire crew, and Charles Bronson watched in silence before he exploded. And it took 3 crew members to hold Bronson back while Marvin just laughed, because that was Lee Marvin. Even drunk and about to get beaten senseless, the man did not flinch. They eventually got the shot, but Bronson did not forget. Number 5. Frank Sinatra sabotages. Trini Lopez. Trini Lopez was supposed to be a hero. His character Jimenez was originally written to survive the entire mission and be one of the men who lights the dynamite that destroys the chateau, meant to be his breakout role that launched him from singer to serious actor. But then production ran over schedule, weeks turned into months, and back in America, Frank Sinatra, who had signed Lopez to his Reprise Records label, started getting nervous and called Lopez with some advice. "Quit the movie, come back to recording. But your music career is losing momentum." Lopez listened because he trusted Sinatra. So he left The Dirty Dozen before filming Wrapped, and the writers scrambled to rewrite his character's death as an off-screen parachute accident. But here's the thing. Sinatra was not looking out for Lopez. He was protecting his investment, and the decision destroyed Lopez's acting career before it ever really started, as he never landed another major film role and never got another chance like this. Years later, a documentary revealed the full story that Lopez had been sabotaged by the man he trusted most, and by then, it was too late to fix it. Number 6. Jim Brown retires from the NFL in military fatigues. July 14, 1966. In London, Jim Brown was at the peak of his career as an NFL legend, and all-time leading rusher, unstoppable on the field, but also in the middle of filming The Dirty Dozen. And Cleveland Browns owner Art Modell was not happy about it. Modell wanted Brown back for training camp. He sent warnings, he made threats, and when Brown did not immediately drop everything and return, Modell announced he would fine him $100 per day for every day he missed. Most players would have caved, would have begged for forgiveness, rushed back and kissed the owner's ring, but Jim Brown was not most players. Instead, he called a press conference. Not just any press conference, but one where he showed up wearing full military fatigues, on sitting in a director's chair in front of a tank with cameras rolling and reporters watching. And then he said it. "I'm retiring from professional football." Modell was blindsided. The NFL was stunned, and Jim Brown walked away from the game at 29 years old in his prime with nothing left to prove. Years later, Modell admitted forcing Brown to choose between football and acting was a huge mistake. But by then, Brown had already moved on because he did not need the NFL. The NFL needed him. Number 7. The improvised scene that launched Donald Sutherland's career. There's a scene in The Dirty Dozen where one of the convicts pretends to be a general and inspects the troops. It's one of the film's most iconic moments. Absurd, hilarious, and perfectly timed. The kind of scene actors would kill for, but it almost did not happen. The scene was originally written for Clint Walker, who played Samson Posey, a Native American convict with a quiet, stoic presence. But when Walker read the script, he refused to do it, telling director Robert Aldrich the scene was demeaning to his character and wouldn't play ball. Aldrich did not argue. He just turned around, scanned the lineup of bald, identical-looking convicts, and pointed at one of them, barking, "You with the big ears, you do it." Without even knowing the actor's name, it was Donald Sutherland. Sutherland improvised the entire scene on the spot with the stammering voice, the exaggerated mannerisms, the barely contained panic disguised as authority, and it was brilliant. So brilliant that producer Ingo Preminger saw it happen, and right then and there decided Sutherland was perfect for a new war comedy he was developing. Preminger cast him as Hawkeye Pierce in MASH before they even had a director attached, launching Sutherland's career. One refusal, one improvised scene, one career launched into orbit. Number 8. Robert Aldrich's height prank on Charles Bronson. Robert Aldrich loved pranks, loved messing with his actors, loved watching them squirm, and one of his favorite targets was Charles Bronson. When they filmed the first inspection lineup scene where all the convicts stood in a row while Lee Marvin's character walked down the line sizing them up, it was supposed to be intimidating, serious, a moment that established dominance. But Aldrich had other plans. He deliberately placed Charles Bronson, who stood 5 feet 8 inches, directly between Clint Walker at 6 feet 6 inches and Donald Sutherland at 6 feet 4 inches, making the height difference absurd as Bronson looked like a child standing between two giants. When Bronson realized what Aldrich had done, he turned and glared at the director with pure rage, while Aldrich just laughed and kept laughing for about 10 minutes straight, while Bronson seethed. They eventually reshot the scene with a better lineup, but Aldrich never forgot the look on Bronson's face, and apparently, neither did Bronson. Number 9. The German censorship that gutted the climax. The climax of The Dirty Dozen is brutal. The surviving convicts pour gasoline and grenades down the ventilation shafts of a chateau bomb shelter filled with high-ranking Nazi officers, then blow it all to hell in a sequence that's shocking, violent, and morally complicated, exactly what Aldrich intended. But when the film was released in Germany, audiences did not see the full scene because the German-language version heavily censored the entire sequence, with German censors removing every shot of gasoline being poured down the air shafts and cutting every moment where grenades are tossed into the vents. All that remained was a brief shot of Jim Brown throwing a single hand grenade followed by an explosion, which meant the entire moral weight of the scene, the uncomfortable realization that the heroes are committing a war crime, was stripped away, leaving just another action sequence that was sanitized, safe, and meaningless. Aldrich was furious when he found out, but there was nothing he could do because the German distributors controlled what German audiences saw, and they decided the truth was too uncomfortable. Number 10. John Wayne's rejection and zero-star disaster. Before Lee Marvin was cast as Major Reisman, MGM had another actor in mind, the biggest name in Hollywood, the Duke himself, John Wayne, who was their first choice when the studio sent him the script. But when Wayne read it, he was disgusted because the original version featured Reisman having an affair with the wife of a soldier fighting overseas, which Wayne called repulsive and refused the role on moral grounds. MGM panicked, rewrote the script, removed the affair entirely, and sent it back to Wayne asking, "See, it's clean now. Will you do it?" But Wayne read it again and said no again because he did not want to make an anti-war film. He wanted to make a pro-Vietnam War movie instead, something patriotic that supported American troops and the war effort. So Wayne walked away from The Dirty Dozen and went on to star in and direct The Green Berets in 1968, which was a disaster as Roger Ebert gave it 0 stars and called it transparent propaganda, while it bombed with critics and divided audiences. Meanwhile, The Dirty Dozen became a massive hit, earned 4 Academy Award nominations, and is still considered one of the greatest war films ever made. Sometimes saying no to the right thing is the biggest mistake you can make. Number 11. Lee Marvin called it crap. The Dirty Dozen made $45 million at the box office and was one of the highest-grossing films of 1967, with critics praising it, audiences loving it, and Lee Marvin's performance as Major Reisman becoming one of his most iconic roles. But Marvin hated it. Years later, he called the film crap and dismissed it as just a dummy moneymaker, saying the movie had nothing to do with war, and complaining that it was just an action spectacle designed to sell tickets. What Marvin really wanted was to make a film that reflected his actual experiences as a Marine in World War II. Something honest, something raw, something that did not glamorize combat or turn soldiers into superheroes. And he eventually got his wish in 1980 when he starred in The Big Red One, directed by Samuel Fuller. That film, quieter, grittier, and more personal, was the war movie Marvin had been waiting his entire career to make, and he never spoke badly about it. But The Dirty Dozen? He dismissed it until the day he died and never apologized for it. Number 12. Roger Ebert's savage takedown of censorship. When The Dirty Dozen was released in Chicago, it ran into a problem with the Chicago Police Censor Board. Yes, that was a real thing, which had strict rules about what could and couldn't be shown in films, including one rule that banned any depiction of human bodies burning on screen. The climax of The Dirty Dozen features Nazi officers burning to death inside the chateau in a scene that's horrifying and meant to be. But somehow the censors missed it and the film was approved for release with the burning scene intact. Roger Ebert, then in his first year as a film critic, noticed the inconsistency and tore into the censorship board with one of the most savage reviews ever published, sarcastically thanking the Chicago Police Censor Board for forgetting the law against showing burning bodies before going for the throat. He wrote, "If you have to censor, stick to censoring sex, I say. Censor out Haley Mills's bare bottom because the human body is evil and it's a sin to look at it. But leave in the mutilation, leave in the sadism, and by all means leave in the human beings burning to death. It's not obscene as long as they burn to death with their clothes on." The review became legendary not because of what he said about the film, but because of what he said about censorship, as Ebert exposed the hypocrisy of a system that banned nudity, but allowed graphic violence with such brutal sarcasm that the censors had no response. The Chicago Police Censor Board was abolished a few years later, and whether Ebert's review played a role, we'll never know, but it did not hurt. The Dirty Dozen did not just survive production chaos, fires, and studio interference, it became a legend. From Lee Marvin stumbling drunk onto set to Jim Brown retiring from the NFL in military fatigues, this film was as dangerous to make as the mission it depicted. So if you love discovering these insane behind-the-scenes secrets, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and drop a comment below. Which fact shocked you the most? Was it Sinatra sabotaging Trini Lopez or John Wayne making a 0-star bomb? Let me know. Thanks for watching. And remember, in Hollywood, just like in war, the mission never goes according to plan.